I know Friday the 13th has got its share of fans, but I'm sorry, apart from a few stand-up moments, it's a bad film. Hi, my name's Stu and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. I've decided to do the classical YouTuber film review channel thing and use the month of October to talk about some horror films. So not just this week, but next week I will also have a review coming out on the 30th of October, not quite the 31st, but still very fitting, I feel. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below what you think of these kind of seasonal videos and whether I should do more of them. I mean, I have done Christmas ones, but maybe I'll think about doing other things as well. So the film Friday the 13th, full disclosure, until yesterday I had not seen this film. I had not seen any film in the entire franchise. So I decided it makes sense, of course, to start with the very first one, see what all the fuss is about. I was very excited to see finally this guy I have seen or heard so much about in the hockey mask, Jason Voorhees. I was really excited to do so. Now, the film is 41 years old, so I feel it's kind of okay, but I will be talking full spoilers in this review. I will assume that you've either seen it or, like I say, it's 41 years old, so you might know one or the other thing about it anyway already, but I feel I need to talk about the spoilers really just to get my feelings about this film across. So this is your warning, spoiler warning. If you don't want any spoilers at all, watch the film first and then return. I suppose it would make more sense and fun to know about the film, to enjoy my comments about it. Just as per usual, the brief overview. What is the film about? We see a group of youth camp counsellors. They are travelling to this camp, Camp Crystal Lake, and it is being refurbished. It seems they want to reopen it. It had been closed for a while, so they're doing all sorts of work to try and get it up and running again. Now, this lake is supposed to be cursed. People in the village nearby, we follow this one girl along. She is going to be the cook at this camp, and she meets this guy, this very, very crazy guy, this really over-the-top acting crazy guy. And he warns her about this camp and says that it's cursed. And yeah, so we follow her along and we meet the group of camp counsellors there, and like I say, they're doing their work. And basically, one by one, they are all being killed. That is the plot of the story. I think that Friday the 13th is known as a slasher film, as one of the big slasher films. So yeah, it's not really surprising that it doesn't have much of a plot. It's always obviously something we enjoy, but it doesn't necessarily require it. The film also is only 95 minutes long, if I'm remembering it correctly, so it doesn't overstay its welcome either way. Now, I mentioned a minute or so ago that I was really excited to finally meet Jason Voorhees. He's even on the cover of the Blu-ray that I bought, so I was like, yes, finally I'll be able to see this madman. Now, if you've seen the film, you will of course know that the hockey mask does not appear, which I find really funny because, like I say, it's even on the Blu-ray cover. The killer is his mother. Now, that is really interesting. I will say that is a surprise I did not see coming when she first appeared. I thought she was rather strange, but I didn't really take much notice of that because, generally speaking, the acting isn't really the greatest. I'll talk about that in a while. But I thought something was off about her, but I honestly did not know or see coming that she is the killer. I thought, you know, she was there, well, working with Jason, so I thought I was waiting for him to appear, you know, just over her shoulder or something, just behind her at some point. Suddenly she is the killer, so that really surprised me. I will give the film that. I did not see that coming. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. It's kind of a bit like a reverse Psycho, I suppose, where the mother is sort of talking to herself with the kid's voice and then becomes the killer. So while it was disappointing not to see Jason, I mean, okay, yes, we see him in the final moments of the film, but you know, not the way that I expected to see him, it was still a very interesting take that happened in this film. And her motivation, I feel, is also quite fine. I thought that was rather good. I liked that her backstory in that sense was that her kid drowned because these camp counsellors were just off having sex or something similar, not paying attention to the kids, and that is her motivation. That kind of broke her mind and turned her into this killer. That actually I thought was rather interesting, so I like that bit about it. But Apart from that, the more you think about it, the less sense it makes, because you've got this woman, she's sort of later middle-aged, I'll call her, but it did not make sense of when a lot of things, when you consider, you know, just the amount of strength that she needed to just kill various people, or just, I don't know, one guy is pinned to a wall with arrows and such, you know, like, how did she do it? So as soon as you look at it in more detail, it just kind of falls apart. But again, it was a very nice twist. I like that. Generally, the killings I thought was rather good. I mean, by today's standards, it's a bit of a disappointment, because I mean, the film is 41 years old, so it is rather difficult to try and see it with fresh eyes, I'll call it, because obviously over the decades we've had so much in horror when it comes to not only practical effects, but just how tension is built and all these things. So most of the film's tricks, etc., didn't really work for me. I would have loved to have seen it back then. I'm sure it would have been quite a different trip. So I will give the film that. It just doesn't hold up as well nowadays. So you've got, for instance, to go into more detail, when we talk about the music, Friday the 13th is known for this sort of tension, this chilling, I'll call it just vocal music it's got, and it sounds like somebody's just going chi chi chi. I looked it up on Wikipedia. It was actually very interesting to see that the person who came up with the score is actually just shortening the words kill and mummy to ki and ma, and that's what he's actually doing. He's just saying it very, very brief and sharply into a microphone. And that's why people think he's saying cha 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 or something like he's dancing. But that, for instance, it didn't work for me. I thought it was interesting. I kind of saw where they were going with it. I liked that they've got this thing going where you immediately know, okay, this is the viewpoint of the killer, and you reinforce that notion by having the music added to it. But the music, over time, it just felt a bit silly to me. Again, I think that is something that worked a lot better way back then. Now, continuing my thought on with the view of the killer, that is something I really liked, because there is something to these voyeuristic elements in horror films that make you feel really uneasy. Just the thought of being watched by someone, particularly when you as the viewer know that that person is also a killer. There's just something about that makes me really uneasy, so that works very well for me. And you've got the slowly moving towards the victim, the shaky camera. I think it really puts you in the moment well. They kind of tricked me, because one or two moments you thought, you know, we are the killer walking towards the victim, and then it turned out not to be the case, so that caught me off guard a few times. But I really like that, so the sense of unease is really well done. I don't know why you would want to be at a camp like this. It's just a really creepy environment, thinking about it at night with the rain and everything, and just considering just how light-hearted all these camp counselors are going about their day. The whole thing just gave me the creeps. So that setting worked really well for me, and the camera just really helped that. You have to talk about the practical effects. Now, again, with today's standards, it was very easy to see the practical effects, and it's very, very conveniently the camera cuts away and then suddenly you see one woman with an axe in her face and stuff like that. I get that they needed to do that. The film had a very low budget, and generally speaking, the practical effects were well done. There's one scene where Kevin Bacon gets an arrow through his neck, and I will admit I had to sit there for a second and go, wait a second, how did they do that? Until you come to the realization that he just probably stuck his head through the pillow, and then everything from the chin downwards is just a prop. But still very well done, I like that. And that death, just to stick with that for a second, I thought was really well done. It was very surprising to me. I did not see it coming. I mean, you see the blood dripping onto his forehead, and then suddenly from underneath you get the arrow. Again, thinking about the strength that the killer had, not quite sure about that, you know, through the bed and through the neck, etc. But fine, it was a very surprising moment. I will give them that. Where the film really fell apart for me was mainly the acting. Now, again, I know it's low budget, etc., but the actors really didn't do it for me. Most of the time, the whole thing just seemed really, really silly, really unearnest, really, and particularly the killer. I get that Betsy Palmer, who plays Mrs. Voorhees, she was sort of the biggest name attached to the film acting wise, but her acting, to me, it came off as really hammy, so I didn't really believe it. There were some moments that were good, that gave me slight chills, you know, just thinking about this tormented woman who couldn't move past the death of her son, but most of the times it just seems really silly. And then you've got her and Adrienne King as Alice. She is the final girl, as the trope is called in horror films. And the two of them towards the end in particular, their fight scenes and struggles, it just looked like a rehearsal really. So that really took me out of the moment. While Adrienne King, she puts in a rather good performance, there are also moments where you're like, doesn't work. But overall, she did fine. I felt you can really feel her emotions and her anxiety as she knows the killer's out there but doesn't know where exactly. But you have some really, really silly things in this. It's like they had to try and artificially extend the length of the film. So you've got, I think it's at least 2 situations where she overpowers Mrs. Voorhees and then doesn't do the logical thing of just taking whatever object she's got near her and just really kill her, you know. She's like, oh, I've knocked her out for a few minutes, right, great, I'll go to this place. And then Mrs. Voorhees finds her again, and then they fight again, and the same thing happens. I was like, why don't you just bloody kill her? And then the really most surprising bit at the very end, where they're at the beach where the canoe is, and Alice grabs the machete, and all of a sudden she's strong enough to just behead Mrs. Voorhees. I had to laugh, I'll be honest, I didn't see it coming, but that was just so ludicrous. I was like, where the hell did that come from all of a sudden? Now it's quite obvious to see, I saw this on Wikipedia, that the film in and of itself is basically just a cash grab. They saw the success that Halloween had and were like, we need to make our own film. You can see that they didn't put too much into this film, but overall a bit disappointing, particularly because I didn't get to see the Jason I wanted to see. But I suppose I should watch the next one and that'll give me his face finally. If you are a fan of the Friday the 13th series, please share in the comments things that I got wrong, which films you feel, because I know the franchise is big, which films are the best, which ones I should go to next, and just any and all of it down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel. I saw that my June video is doing exceptionally well. I got quite a few subscribers from that. So hello if you're new to the channel. Thanks for being here. I hope you stay and enjoy. But yes, that video has suddenly become my most watched with over 3,000 views, which is quite insane when typically my reviews have got like 20 to 30 views. So thank you very much for all that support. And I will see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care.